Welcome to Storage Institute's interview sessions. We are so excited to have Rachael Brady, who is a developer, but so much more. She is at the forefront of so many amazing projects in the emerging technology space, and we're just excited to feature. And I'm going to pass the baton to Rachael, because if I were to even attempt to describe all the things that she is up to in the space, I certainly would fall short, and she'd have to fill in the blanks anyway. So let me pass the baton, Rachael. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you're up to these days.
Thanks. I usually like to introduce myself as a developer, but then I could say I like to teach other people because I'll jump into something and then I've learned like the best way to learn that is to teach somebody else, kind of pass it on. I run a ghost hunting group, which is pretty fun. That's been going on for like over 10 years. Most of my free time, I'm coding and actually seamstress. So I do a lot of alterations for my neighborhood and whoever that refers me. So I do a lot of prom dresses.
I love that you're weaving in your spare time as you weave into the blockchain technology, all of the things that that are forefront in the emerging technology space. What inspired you to first get involved in blockchain technology?
I like challenges. So I used to think of blockchain as like a scam, because you always hear about certain types of NFTs and people just focusing on buying low, selling high. But I was really drawn to on-chain data part because I like the idea of, you put this information up and then you can't touch it or change it.
Describe a couple of your first projects.
Sure. So it's not a scam, but it's an NFT project. It's called Molly Match. I wanted to learn how to just build something on a blockchain on top of how to create, a website. Long time ago, it used to be where you would, like hobbyists would host their website at home, and now everyone uses like something like AWS to launch everything on the cloud. So I wanted to learn how to do that. And then my daughter her and I, we have little cats. And so like we came up with this idea of making this NFT project that's kind of like CryptoKitties, but I would say better because it's based on, how DNA works, and there's just so much more. I don't want to like ramble on about it, but it's also going to be part of a game too. We actually went to a couple conventions locally, and people loved it. So I was a little worried about that because like the difference of like video gamers, a lot of them don't like happen to buy add-ons to their games, and they're told like, hey, you should buy these NFTs that will unlock something special, and then it ends up being nothing big. But we had a lot of positive feedback, and we even were able to sign people up to some of the Bitcoin wallets that we use for the video or for the game. So we were really excited about that.
I love that because you're offering access to people that probably otherwise would not have exposure to wallets, and opening up and implementing at least some of the access required to get deeper into the space. So I think that is making what you're contributing with Molly Match certainly unique in the NFT space. What do you hope to achieve with it?
So I wanted to keep, going. I think it's going to change where, down the road, depending on how, where blockchain goes. I think one of the biggest points I had at these convention was showing like, look how fast you can, send this transaction and it's already in your wallet for the blockchain that we use. Not all blockchains can do that. On top of like the fees that you have to pay for it. So we were, super excited to show that off, and people were very, interested in that because they were used to just, like a Bitcoin where you have to wait for this transaction, to go through. And for us, it just immediately, shows up in their wallet. So I like that part. And
Yeah, talk a little more about the advantages of using BSV blockchain. I feel like, people are always on one side of the fence with BSV, and I'd love for you to give a little more insight into the advantages that you perceive using BSV, and then also any challenges and how you've faced them, and in updating like your Python library.
online, there's a lot of negative negativity towards BSV because of all the other just people have a loyalty to certain blockchains. And that was a little hard at first, but then I told myself at this convention, like, I'm a little, I was kind of worried people would be afraid of that, but they are not afraid, but like, just not taking it seriously. And that never came up. They were just excited that something worked, and which is on BSV. Some of the challenges we had where so mainly our stuff's built on backend through Python.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the stuff out there is usually through like a JavaScript SDK.
Yeah.
And that's something I'm still learning. And the people that my team, like, we're used to more backend. I think more of it's because we're just used to like making sure servers are running very 24/7, that they don't go down. And so a lot of that stuff's like Python, or even something older like PHP. But we worked a lot with some of the developers with the Python libraries, and even some of the JavaScript libraries. So like if you heard of Pay in Cash, we started with them to use them as a wallet, and some of the documentation wasn't updated. And that's something I learned like down there, through this whole journey. When there's this, exciting type of, new feature that's out there, with BSV, and anything else, like they want to be able to make this stuff fast, but they don't have time to focus on like the extra stuff where it's like, okay, now we got to write documentation so other people can come in and use our service. And that part's hard because like we're not like we don't deeply know how a blockchain works, how like cutting apart like a transaction and all, reading like the hex and all of that. Like that's something I was like learning recently through I think the BSV Association. But so if you don't know how to do that, and when you get an error using like a Python library, you have to go into the actual code and find out what that is. And then sometimes you still can't find it, and then you find out like they're using an older library that's attached to that. And I can't complain about it because like it's a lot of learning that I need to know for that. And I'm also able to connect to a lot of new people, which is great because that's how you learn. And down the road, maybe we can help each other.
Yeah, I love that. But I think it was 2022, I was at NFT NYC and teaching meditation with my NFTs at the Empire DAO location, and they were having a Python deep dive in one of their conference rooms. And I thought that, people were super excited about just getting together collectively to see some of the other faces in the space. And I feel like just them creating those spaces for more people to get familiar with Python language and space just broadens that up, and I think also is diluting some of that early misconception about BSV and how applicable the blockchain, their technology is to help reduce the fees and increase the speed. And I just feel like that needs to be more into the conversation. And it sounds like you've been able to incorporate a lot of the benefits into your technology stack and the tools that you're using for Molly Match.
Yeah. And it's good to hear that other places are using Python, because a lot of times you run into something that's either proprietary and then you just have to use their, like their JavaScript SDK or whatever. That that was the thing too I really love about BSV is that a lot of it's open source. So like if
Mhm.
something doesn't work the right way, you can actually just change it.
Yeah.
Our team did that with a older library called BitSV. And we ended up forking it on, the repository to add something extra to it where you would have extra private keys attached to, I believe, like one wallet address is what we were doing. This is because of how we made the NFTs from Molly Match. It's a little different than other projects people have seen, like if they look under the hood.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely it's changing the game and broadening access, and I think that that's the biggest impact that we can have is bringing other people along for the ride. And I think it's a blessing that we're able to pass the baton, that whatever we created, somebody else is able to build off of that, so that when we talk about how quickly Web3 evolves, how quickly AI evolves, it's because people don't have to reinvent the wheel, and they can take what somebody else already created and then build off of it, which helps to raise the average up significantly.
Yeah.
um, the B team, I know you use the element beryllium to symbolize the team. How did you guys come up with the name? What's the significance of using the element as your team name?
So my husband, he's a nerd, but I mean, so am I, but I think he's more. But so there's just four of us, and so I believe there was something about how there were four. We call it or like the chemicals are around this big, like proton or whatever. But we stuck with that name, and we liked how it was kind of like the A team, but
I love it. No,
we
that's like
still, yeah.
it's a chemistry nerd spin on
Yeah.
A team. I think I'm all about that. I'm a geologist, so I'm
Uh,
all about the back end. Let's throw in a little chem lingo. That's always helpful. How how do talk a little bit about the B team project, about your role, your responsibilities with the team, how you guys contribute with the projects that you've put onto the platform, and just give an intro into what you're up to with that.
Sure. So my friend Exit, she just it was a couple years ago. She graduated with a computer science degree, and she's also an artist. And I was like, hey, you need to check out this BSV stuff that I'm trying to work with. And so I talked her into. I'm like, let's form a team and build something. And so we pulled in one of her friends that's an artist who I wanted to talk a little bit about that too. Like, so her friend. She runs a studio where they port games for like Sonic the Hedgehog, and
Okay.
I like that because that gives us access to somebody that knows how professionally know how to do everything the right way, like how like a game studio does. I think without her, we wouldn't know what which path to take for that. Um, and so the artist, her name's Liz, and she creates all of the drawings for the cats. So she hand drew the line art, and then I told her, like you don't have to color anything in because we made we use a library that will fill in the color for you, and you don't have to I know a lot of people like to do that separate. And my husband, he's the one actually like he'll show us how to create something, in the evening, and then during the day, like we'll work on it. And when we get stuck, then we bring him in and be like, hey, like why is this thing not making, not attaching itself to the right, wallet that it's supposed to. And he showed us a lot how to troubleshoot, which is just, going through logs a lot.
Talk about a couple of those significant projects that you have on the B team GitHub now. in the repository?
Okay, so yeah, B Team, their repository, they have the library. We have a library for the SB, which is the one that we changed where you can have extra private keys. Um, I think eventually we're gonna probably switch over to the new, what's it called, the Python SDK through I think BSB Association.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're gonna do that. We're right now we're figuring out how to convert the one-set ordinal library, which is in JavaScript, over into Python. So we can, because we have so much stuff written in Python, it's going to be a big pain to try to, write that in JavaScript. So we're, I think that's probably going to be the fastest way for us to do that. And the reason why we went this other protocol in our for mulling match is so that they show up in everyone's wallets, and which is called one-set ordinals. We also have our own protocol for B Team called JSON Chain.
Mm.
Um, we made that a while, probably 2 years ago, but we didn't release it because we're still, we just had, since this is something we do, it's not like our day job. So it takes a long time to get, something done. But we want to release that, when it's finished. It's just another way to, create a BSV transaction where you can decide if you want to put your data on, certain data on chain. You can decide if you want to put your image on chain or not. You can just insert a URL instead. And that gives people the ability to, like for a video game, we can change where that image is located. So I don't, I mean, there's different ways you can create, like a transaction that way, but I don't think there's anything out there like that yet.
Mm.
It's been a bit since I've looked at. I think maybe once that Arnold's is like that now, maybe because I think they have a um, what is it called, Bitcoin schema, which is how you format your metadata in it. And but yeah, it's fun. It's just being able to create things.
Yeah, I know there's a couple AI projects that have been focused on the formatting of metadata on the back end so that makes life a little easier for the content creator. But I don't know what's happened with that
Yeah,
lately.
AI is interesting. I would love to put like kind of integrate that into our our NFT project, but I'm not sure yet. Maybe something to do with like image generation, I think.
Yeah, I know. I mean, there's a lot of potential. I think they're just starting to explore the integration of AI into, especially the smart contract creation, and then organizing and distributing the metadata, um, especially with the NFTs that people are currently working with in the space that actually give some kind of off-chain access. Because I think that was always one of the hurdles that people were trying to find the most effective and efficient way to do that. You have your personal GitHub. I know that you have several projects there as well.
Yeah.
Talk about what you have in your personal backend space.
A lot of it's just for stuff I've learned, and then most of them are Python scripts on like how to generate your own wallet through command line. A lot of them use the What's on Chain API because that's something I wanted to learn, as how do I properly use an API and not what's like the best practices so you're not trying to overwhelm it. And so that's yeah, like a couple wallet stuff. I we have I think there's one, actually I think JSON chain might be public on there, but I'll have to double check. So in that way people can kind of see like how a NFT is made, the way we create them. Um, the other one is it's from my ghost hunting group. I'm trying to remember what I think I renamed it to my daughter's name, Robin. It's There's a lot of stuff out there that like apps for like location, like so like people like to go visit like a haunted place, but they don't check to see if the places are private property or public property. And so a lot of people get in trouble and they'll trespass. And so I wanted to make an app where it will show you, on based on your location, and it will do like a property search. And then you can create like your own database and input your notes in it, but you can also share it publicly if you wanted. And because yeah, because there's just a lot of people, like mainly teenagers, that will go to a house that looks abandoned, but there's actually somebody living there. Um, and I think having an app and then bringing that like awareness more, out there, and I think that would help both parties. The other thing I made I don't have it with me. It's a Raspberry Pi project called The Obvious. And so you ever watch any of the ghost hunting shows like Ghost Adventures or what's the other one? Ghost Hunters. They have a lot of devices. So there's this one device called The Obvious, or yeah, the obvious. I'm mixing up the words. It's a device. It's a dictionary. It only has like 256 words on it, and it reacts to EMF. So, but the person that created it made it very closed, so you don't know exactly how it works. So you may or may not have bought a $300 thing that is fake. And so it will display a word while you're asking questions about like your room that you're in, and then you can associate that word with maybe that something that happens that night. So I made an open one, and then you just buy like the weather sensors for it, and this one has the entire dictionary. So people can like build their own if they wanted to. They just download it's a Python script
Wow.
for it.
What even led, like, how did you get involved? I mean, it's such a left field kind of thing, ghost hunting. So I think you're probably the first ghost hunter I've ever spoken to. So I'm super interested in how you even get involved. And were you part of the creation of the Tennessee, Ohio Paranormal Society? How does that work? And what's the background behind that?
Yeah, so I made this with my friend Tabitha from her and I went to high school, or well, middle school actually, together for a long time, and we reconnected after we graduated. And her and I were talked about like, oh, look at these silly like ghost hunting shows. These guys are being very dramatic. We need to go see what this is all about. And so we would go visit like local locations that had like a public ghost hunt, and it's very different than what you see on TV. And so, and we're very we're more like, we love hardware and all like the little gadgets. And so we're like, what can we do that we could build that would kind of be something different, where we could share how the stuff works that you see on TV. And so it's not scary, because like a lot of the shows will make it sound like you're like you're bringing something scary home. And some people believe that, like I don't really know, but I do know that it's nice to have like a different, like another like perspective of ghost hunting, because like a lot of those shows back then, they just never you never like left the show thinking like, oh, I'll be okay being in this, living in this old house. So we just wanted something different, like, and it was just something fun, because Tabitha's a photographer, so she loved to take photography of like old historical buildings. And so that kind of just merged into one thing, and we're like, let's create a ghost hunting group. And we would post our pictures online, and people would reach out to us and say, hey, we want you to investigate our business, because customers are like, one was a bookstore. Customers were telling them that they felt like they were being pushed down the stairs and all kinds of crazy stuff. And since then, we've just been doing that for fun, like on weekends.
Very, very interesting. New applications all the time. I think one of the coolest things, just from my perspective and looking at your portfolio, the work that you were doing with Gibeo, and how does that talk a little bit about the vision behind it, and then how it differentiates from traditional video sharing platforms like YouTube?
Yeah, so this was mainly with a lot of the BSP community. So I had one friend who was saying like, how can people make money, right now, without, like having to have a bunch of followers, like how YouTube is, because on YouTube you have I forget how many people you need to even like make money, but it's a lot, and it's the average person will not be able to have like a full-time job on YouTube like that. But so we made a Gibeo where you could upload your content, and then with the hand cash wallet you would um, be paid like a certain amount of money. The content creator can um, set the amount of money per episode that they want. We also have a shop on there where you can sell your own items,
Hmm.
and that's also through BSB. But we have a lot of people that still they use it. I think it's been up now for maybe 2 years, almost 2 years, and I like it. Like it's we get a lot of pushback because the videos are not on chain. Um, but I just didn't really want to, you know, I for privacy reasons, some people may want to remove those videos later, and so that's why they're
Mhm.
not on chain for that. Um, but yeah, most of it is just so like people can have an alternative than compared to YouTube.
Yeah, are there any new features or updates that you plan to introduce into Gibeo in the future?
Yeah, we're going to probably add an ability where people can have like almost like a subscription type system. So the person would be given like the content creator would have their own NFT, and they would give that to their viewers, and that would do whatever they want to plan with that. I think some people wanted to have it where like if they buy this NFT, then their content's free that way.
Hmm.
But the other one was I think like every like you'd buy an NFT for $7, and then you could watch their content free for 3 months, and then that would expire. Um, so I gotta reach back to more of the creators and kind of see, get a feel like what they really want.
Well, how do you see the future of platforms like Gibeo that integrate cryptocurrency rewards for content creators? What do you see as the future for that demographic in that space?
Um, that I think eventually like it's gonna go to streaming. Because that's like one of the top questions I get because they want to, like that. I think it will grow because of all these, big companies like YouTube and even like Facebook and Twitter, like they have their own, streaming services on there and video. And but the thing about them is like they censor and will, all your stuff's gone if you um happen to like do the wrong thing on there, or if you accidentally lose your account. um I think down the road maybe we'll give I would like to give the option where people can maybe put their videos on chain that way. um but yeah, a lot of people they don't see microtransactions as a way to, I think, watch content, which is weird to me. I think that should be explored more.
Mm.
Like, because a lot of people will pay, like, I don't really know what you consider like a microtransaction. Like they'll pay $20, like on YouTube to watch a, video. But I think we can do something smaller where you can pay someone like in tips or in stuff like that. We do have like tips where if you do it like a thumbs up on the person's like comment, you can pay like 5 cents.
Yeah, I think there's so many avenues that can be explored with that. And I'm wondering, what potential do you see for cross-platform NFT integration in these spaces, whether it's gaming ecosystems or streaming?
Um, that's a hard question for me because despite me like having that website, I don't pay a lot of attention to a lot of the like content creation stuff. Um, I think really it's just the ability to have that content easily accessible. Right now, it's hard to with any type of Bitcoin wallet. It has to be a mobile wallet, because a lot of people are on their phones; they're not on their computers. And the majority of those wallets are Chrome extensions, and you can't
Yeah.
do that on your phone. So I think there's still like a long way for um, that type of like I would say like blockchain content. They have a lot more ways to go with getting it to work on your phone and making it just accessible, make it easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love what you're doing in the space. I mean, I think that, just obviously having more women at the forefront of
Mhm.
developer projects just makes it much more accessible. And you're definitely at the forefront, certainly in the BSV community, which I think is emerging probably faster than all of the other platforms at this point. I mean, I just think the pace, the adoption, the early adoption was almost felt like it was kind of underground activity, and now it's coming definitely more into the mainstream and broader applications, and the work that you're doing is a huge part of that. Where can people follow you, Rachel, and keep up with what you're doing, what you're posting, your new
Sure.
project?
They can go to my GitHub. It has I think most of the links to all the social media. So my GitHub is it's a Rachy. It's RACHY repeated twice. And um they yeah, I mean if I'm also on Discord, it's the same name. I'm usually That's probably the fastest way to get a hold of me is there, or I won't list my email just because of that. But usually if someone has a question, we can set something up, through Discord, and then I can give them my email. Um, I think the thing I like about this community is being able to I learn something and then I'm able to help somebody else on how they can create something on the blockchain. And I think that's important, just building the community, making it bigger.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job of tapping into sectors of the community that would not otherwise probably apply some of these technologies. And you're a great example of how to implement and really put it into real world, real life applications. And I think that that's obviously what makes it easier for the masses to adopt and appreciate and access this emerging
Yeah.
technology that certainly is at the forefront of things. So thank you for being a pioneer in the development space. We love to see that.
Thank you.
We'll put all of the links to track you and check in with you in the show notes. And we look forward to having you back, to get an update on how things have evolved, how the NFT and gaming space is evolving, and all the updates that you plan with the video streaming as well. So we're grateful to have you and feature the work that you're doing. So keep us posted.
Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
will.
much, Rachel. You're amazing.